by internet sleuths. He spilled the beans that Bobby's 1985 Xylotar obsession terrified him, causing him to flee to Trinidad. Bobby resurfaced with his Xylotar in the winter of 2024 as the rock god of the North Pole. He now hosts the Polar Pitch, a weekly jam session. Music has been dubbed Arctic Wave, which stirs up memories of an 80s mixtape fed through a Panasonic boombox, with the bass turned all the way up to avalanche. Rock on, Bob.
Oh, hi, I didn't see that. Welcome to Board Game Animal. My name is Justin. On this channel, it is no secret that I'm a big fan of trick taking, and maybe a little bit of a fan of getting a bit unhinged. And last year, Bezier Games released two incredible trick takers in the forms of Xylotar and Rebel Princess. And this year they said, why don't we take things up a notch? So first, let's talk about Xylotar. Xylotar in general is a trick taker where you don't have all the information, you have some. Everyone around the table will know the hand, if you can remember it, of your neighbor as you put their hand in order. Place it in front of them, and then it's strewn out like the keys of a Xylotar. So you know what suit and what range of numbers any given card is, but you may not know the specific number. And you play the tricks and you make your bets, and it's just a really good time and feels so different from a lot of trick takers out there. Now in Unhinged, we get a little bit of craziness added here. There are two modular expansions that you could use together or separate. The half-note cards add a welcome amount of tension, where each 1/1 is a negative point, adding an element to avoid in the game. And the beat cards add some asymmetry and variability that will spice up gameplay for folks who like powers in their trick taking. I think I enjoy both of these to include them a pretty decent amount of the time that I pull Xylotar out to play. Especially the half-note cards. I think they add a nice fun mystery element to the game in a game that's already about a bit of imperfect information. But for me, when it comes to the different abilities, I think other trick-taking games like Tizuma Trick from New Mill and Rebel Princess that we're going to be talking about in a second are still going to be my go-to for trick-taking with powers. Now, that being said, I like the direction of a trick-taking game where you already had to strategize amidst uncertainty, that now there's a bit more to question and avoid and wonder when somebody's going to put a power of theirs into play. Wondering what powers do they even possess? It's definitely unhinged, and I can see why leaning into that idea in a game like Xylotar that already feels a little different really can make this game continue to stand out when trick-taking is such a popular genre at the moment. Xylotar as a base game, I gave an 8.5, and I think I'm going to give Unhinged a solid 7. The reason it's not higher is ultimately that while I really do enjoy it, the elements can be a tad bit distracting from what made Xylotar special to me, which is what I think makes this one a fascinating gray area. Depending on your style, if the base game wasn't particularly for you, this could make a difference enough to enjoy the experience. And if you did enjoy Xylotar as is, I can see this swinging strongly in either direction depending on how much you personally appreciate chaos. Whether you embrace the chaos or it's a little bit distracting can kind of be the make or break for you here. For me, strangely, it's a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, I will recommend it because kind of you do like the sort of thing we're talking about here that Unhinged adds into the game, you'll really like how it's implemented. Rebel Princess Happily Never After is doing that wonderful expansion thing where you take a game that already had a great plug and play element built in and said, how about some more? In it, we simply have two new princesses and a few more round powers.
They added me as a princess right in the expansion with the ability that I want to win the Frog Prince.
No, Mickey, no. We have the Swan Princess and Little Red. We also have the Beauty Promo Princess. And all have some really interesting abilities, and the rounds add even more challenging and fascinating conditions. The fact that Rebel Princess already had copious amounts of options to affect the game state, and what felt like limitless replayability thanks to infinite amount of combinations, that if you like that, you need this expansion. The fact that this is a riff on Hearts with tons of bells and whistles just dumped on top, it's the kind of game that very easily could just be derivative or feel uninteresting or just feel like you threw everything in plus the kitchen sink. It really amazes me how Rebel Princess just slides straight through at really successfully pulling off this balancing act of not doing any of those extremes, but just delivering a solid gameplay experience. Somehow managing to feel like classic, familiar trick taking, but with tons of just pure unadulterated fun added in. And Happily Never After just gives you more and more of it. Now, what's funny is specifically the expansion here comes in this kind of little VHS almost looking little VHS or like a book style case with the intention that the contents can just fit inside the base box to save room and save resources, things like that. But what's really funny to me about it is that I'm kind of charmed by it. I don't know why the idea of it looking sort of like a very thin VHS or like a book kind of thing makes me want to keep it in this packaging, and I have been leaving it on the shelf next to Rebel Princess in that fashion. But yeah, all in all, Rebel Princess was already kind of dancing around 9.5 territory for me, and this expansion just keeps inching it closer to that 10. I think if you like trick taking, or if you like general card games with asymmetric powers, do not hesitate to try this one out. You won't be disappointed. Overall, what's interesting, I think, in the case of these two expansions from Bezier as add-ons to big trick-taking games of theirs, is that they're wildly different in what they're accomplishing. They couldn't be more different when it comes to what an expansion can do for any given board game or card game. By its very nature, Rebel Princess is something you can just keep adding more to. More of a good thing is a good thing and all that. That's just what it does. Unhinged, though, for Xylotar adds two ideas that are totally alien to the base game, and I think could make all the difference where someone who didn't like the base game could be pulled in, and vice versa. Either way, I think that Unhinged is really good, and Happily Never After is really, really, really super splendid. I want to give a huge thank you to Bezier Games for the review copies of these expansions. We are huge fans. Being friends of Board Game Animal is super appreciated. Thank you all for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And in the meantime, do not forget to play board games like an animal, especially if you're a polar bear who's rad as all get out, who plays a Xylotar.
Or like a frog prince who ran away with my heart.
Mickey, we talked about this. He wasn't proposing to you. That was the inside of a box lid.
That was the inside of my heart.
All right.